going to die. Thank you. Hey, look at that. We're live. Hey, everybody. Matt Colville here. I know it seems like I'm being joined by two of my coworkers and good friends, Jason Hasenauer and James Introcaso. Everybody at MCDM worked their ass off to get the Beastheart out and ready, but I figured three people, getting all three of us on stream at the same time is a little bit of a miracle. If I appear to be a living, breathing human, that is merely an illusion. I got my third Moderna shot yesterday. Thank you, Jerry. I got my third Moderna shot yesterday, and I feel like death warmed over. So if I suddenly collapse and my face smashes into my computer here, don't freak out. Where are the chickens? Hive Indicator wants to know where the chickens are, Jason. I assume you just got them running around. You could just pick one up. Oh, they're outside. That's boring.
Yeah.
Do the chickens ever come inside?
I'd let them hang out inside more, but they just, they crap when they want to crap.
So we're here to talk about the Beastheart. Actually, you folks can ask anything you want, but we're going to prioritize Beastheart and miniature questions. I don't mean tiny questions. I mean questions about our miniatures. Pesto asks, Mott? Chris Culbertson said, the Beastheart is fucking dope shit. I agree. Show that message. Oh my God. Thanks to the mods. Thanks to all the mods in chat. You can see that little wrench next to their names. Yeah, I normally do. Is James Introcaso is Brickfo wants to know, is the Beastheart multi-attribute dependent? Or are they mad about drugs?
Yes, some. So the Beastheart, it depends on sort of your build, but they do need wisdom, and then usually at least one skill that will make them a good fighter. But you can build a dexterity wisdom build pretty easily, and be a ranged fighter and finesse, and you'll have great defense with your AC and everything like that, and that will pretty much help you out that way. If you're brave, if you're bold, you can go strength, and then you'll probably need some constitution in there as well, and it can get complicated, but they definitely work. All of those different builds work because we play tested them a bunch. Because one of the things that helps about the Beastheart being multi-attribute dependent sometimes is that you have this whole other being that can pick up the slack, where you might be a little lacking in some places. Your beast can pick things up.
Somebody upstream, whose name I did not register, I apologize, asked what I think is probably going to be the most important question of this stream, and I think probably Jason's the best person to answer it. Jason, do owlbears have teeth?
I'm the best person.
They have beaks. Are there? Well, you're the only person who can open up the beak of the owlbear and look inside using the eye of your imagination.
Do owls have teeth? No, but do bears have teeth?
No,
yes.
But bears do.
At least part of the owlbear.
We knew the answers to those two questions. At least what?
Well, that's the answer. Part of the owlbear has teeth, not all of it.
Okay.
Part of it. Yeah.
The bear part has bear teeth.
I think there's little teeth inside that.
You think so?
Yeah,
okay. That makes sense.
You ever seen the little ridges inside a bear's beak? A bird's beak.
I have. I've looked at a lot of bear beaks, and I notice it does seem like they're slowly evolving. I mean, I think the implication of what you're saying, Jason, is that bears are slowly evolving into owlbears here in the real world, and I completely agree. Maybe. That seems inevitable to me. Yeah. Chris asks, has this been released? Yes, it is. We have a brand new class for 5th edition available in our online store, along with 5 new miniatures, and you can get the rules for monstrous companion pets and the new class, the Beastheart, on Roll20 and Fantasy Grounds, if either of those are to your taste. I agree. Jason's audio is kind of muffled, but there's nothing, Jason's about an hour away from here. I don't think it'd be reasonable to send Jerry out there right now to try to troubleshoot that. The cover is very Frank Frazetta. That is correct. Jason, how closely was the art team linked with the design process? Or do you sort of see the end product and then start drawing? This is a good question, considering the conversations we just had yesterday, Jason.
Yeah.
We can hear you. I mean, we can hear you. You just sound kind of muffled. I wouldn't worry about it if I were you.
All right. Sorry. We have a lot of back and forth. We talk about design quite a bit. as far as how it might influence the visuals of companions and creatures. And we have a lot of fun ideas, and we just want to make sure they meld well with design. Ways of making the companions look more than just wild animals. Accoutrements and armor, and little trinkets and things on them. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of discussion between all of us pretty regularly.
And it seems like, based on the monster design discussion we had, was it just yesterday? It does seem like the more MCDM starts doing its own original stuff, the more art and design are kind of brought in together at the beginning. Somebody asks,
good example
are there any plans for the...
Sorry.
Continue.
No, I was just going to say that, for example, Mott, the Sporling companion, exists because of the art team. The art team was like, it would be cool to draw a little mushroom guy. It was like, oh, okay, well, we'll make them.
And Jason drew...
So, a lot of times
Jason doodled a bunch of different little mushroom dudes, and I fell in love with the most primitive drawing that he did. And that's... Yeah, just a little... two-dimensional line art sketch of a mushroom guy going, and I was like, that's my next pet in the playtest. Are there plans for developing additional animals? Good question, Adrian. Are there plans for more aminals? Sort of, right? Yes.
Yeah. I
We're doing a whole monster
Matt,
book.
you've already talked about this. Yeah, exactly.
Doing a whole monster book. And somebody asks downstream, Victoria Artis says, hi, gents. What sparked the idea to create the Beastheart? Well, I mean, it's because James and I decided that the next big hardcover MCDM product was going to be a monster book. And this was back in early 2021. And, we didn't commit to anything right away. We just talked a lot about how we enjoyed the luxury of being able to discuss what kind of stuff should go in that kind of book. And I said, I want to see rules for if there is a monster in our book that looks like players would like to have a pet version of it, I want to have rules for pet versions of these monsters. I said the same thing with psionics. If there's a monster in our book that looks like it should be a psionic creature, then we need to have better rules for psionics. And I said the same thing about minions. So if you're curious about potential future MCDM classes, those are some ideas right there. But yeah, it was because we said, let's design the rules for monstrous companions now, so that when we go into production on the monster book, the rules have already been done and tested, and we believe in them. Luke Edwards, I think that's a question for Jason. How'd you get into drawing for TTRPGs?
How did I get into it? It's Matt Colville's fault, really.
Yep. I just said, hey, do you want to keep implementing other people's ideas for the rest of your life, or do you want to come with me and change the world?
Yeah.
It took
a couple of conversations like that. He had to ask me a few times.
It did,
but eventually I said, fine. Yeah.
Actually, at the very end, the opposite happened. And I gave Jason his offer letter. And he said, you don't seem very excited about this, Matt. And I was like, I'm fucking terrified, dude. Because being the CEO of a company and hiring new people and suddenly being responsible for their livelihood and their family's livelihood, that is terrifying to me. And but the flip side of that is, I don't think I would trust somebody who wasn't terrified of that. So actually, Jason had the prescience to say, what is it specifically that worries you? And this is during the Strongholds and Followers era. And I said, we still haven't paid for shipping Strongholds and Followers yet. I don't know how big that bill is going to be. We hear different estimates from different people. Some of them are quite large. And Jason said, okay, well, how about this? How about we wait till that bill gets paid, and then we see how much, how risky bringing me on is. And that's what we did. So it was really cool of Jason to be like, he met me halfway. Obviously, this is a question we get a lot. This is a Jason question, Jason, so get ready for this, because this is your answer to this question, Jason, is going to be the answer that I use all the time, right? Any chance that MCDM will sell 3D models for 3D printing or 3D virtual tabletops? Will people be able to buy the STL files?
Any chance?
So, FYI, as far as Matt Colville is concerned, and I'm not the only voice that matters at this company, but as far as I'm concerned, that is up to Jason.
So
that's right.
It's an ongoing discussion, actually. We've had several times internally. I like the idea of there being separate products between miniatures and STL files. I love the idea of printable STL files. I actually just got my own 3D printer. I back a lot of 3D print patrons and things like that. Super into it.
Yep.
I think they're kind of their own product.
They are
separate from our resin.
And I would say a lot of the people
designs are separate, but the specific miniatures and sculpts are different, and there's different things we keep in mind for that process. And so, yeah. I mean, is there any chance we will sell STL file miniatures? Yes.
But the implication of what you just said is it's less likely that we'll sell STL files of these miniatures. Your perspective is that since that's basically its own different market, that if we were going to sell STL files, we would make 3D models explicitly for the STL file audience.
Yeah, and another reason is there's a little bit of a destructive factor involved in making the resin models, even though they're digital.
Yeah.
While we're making the cuts and figuring out the keys and the pieces of the models, there's a little bit of back and forth. And once keys have been made, I might work on just a part, and I never go back and bother to put them back together. So, it's an additional step, additional work. There's no single file of like say the owlbear.
Oh, I see. Right, because if
the final sculpt. Yeah. So
I mean, just for people watching in chat, and obviously anybody watching in the future, my impression, and I think Jason will correct me if he disagrees, is that there's several different audiences involved in this, right? There's the MCDM community, right, which tend to be they support the stuff that we buy, and then there's the larger D&D community, which I still don't think most of those people even know who MCDM is, and then there's the STL community, which is a completely different demographic, and a lot of them are people who came out of Warhammer and other tabletop games, other war games, and they got a 3D printer so they could print their own proxies for those things. So there's a lot of different audiences that we could be supporting, but right now, if we made an STL file, it would only appeal to those members of the MCDM community who are also members of the STL community. I would say most of the STL community has no idea who we are, and so if we were going to get into that market, we would have to do a bunch of research and find out what do those folks like, and then make stuff for them.
Mm-hmm. Somebody asked what my favorite thing to sculpt is. It's aliens, demons, and dinosaurs.
What about robots?
Well, I don't actually sculpt robots. I model robots. It's different.
Oh, okay. I don't know what that means, but all right. What's the difference between sculpting and modeling? That's not me asking on their behalf. I don't know.
I'm mostly joking.
Oh, it's a different program.
Software, hard surface stuff. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. So, what software do you use for hard surface stuff as opposed to? I assume that soft surface stuff, it's like ZBrush, right?
Yeah. Actually, not to go down a rabbit hole on it, but I usually start in ZBrush. I do a mushy version of the robot, and then I take that in and I use it as kind of a proportion guide and say Max or Maya or Blender or Modo, whatever I got, and finish it there. And then usually bring it back in the ZBrush to do little details.
Thanks to the mods, Big Spoon, Nohado, Nasinator for collecting all these questions. Will the Beastheart be free for Patreon supporters? No. The only reason the Illrigger was free was because we had a month between launching the first 3 Arcadia issues and then taking stock and stopping and seeing is it worth continuing, and how do we want, if at all, to change Arcadia. So we had this 1 month gap. We actually thought it was going to be longer, but we managed to keep it to a month. And so we just said, why not release the Illrigger to patch that hole? We don't got no holes anymore. Don't need no patches. Is there a story behind the Beastheart name? Actually, yeah, that's a great question, because for a long time, we were just calling it the Beastmaster, because that's what I thought it was. And no one really liked that name, because obviously there's already a Beastmaster in 5th edition. But this would be a new class instead of a subclass. But I was like, all the other names we can think of, they were all good names, but I felt like they weren't right. The Warden was one of them, or the Beast Warden, and I was like, a Warden is somebody who wards things, right? And so I didn't like that. There were James. Do you remember any other names that were shortlisted?
Yeah, Beast Lord was one of the ones. A lot of them were Beast Lord. Something that had something in it. Yeah, it was not.
But a lot of them were really gendered. Like Beastmaster, Yeah, Beastmaster is less gendered than Beast Lord, but still, anybody can master something, right? You could be a master cello player. That doesn't mean you're a guy, but there is a connotation and a denotation where you're like, I think there's and I was happy just leaving it Beastheart, because I would look at all these suggestions from the team, and everybody at the team we have a document that anybody can dump suggestions into, and some of them were good. They just weren't as good as the Beastmaster, because I was like, I think that's. But then I started thinking, and I was like, you don't really master beasts, though, right? It's not like your character, it's not like this design was all about, we're fighting beasts, and I can mind control them, and now they fight for us. Nope. And so going down that road, I think James and I were having a back and forth in Discord, and I all of a sudden was like, it started with me thinking of like Savage, like the Savage Soul. If this were a 3rd edition prestige class, it would be the Savage Soul. And I was like, Savage Soul, that's pretty good. But it wasn't right. It wasn't right. It was like, I could see that it was pointing in a certain direction, right? And I just let it lay fallow, and then I went, because I basically translated Savage and Soul. I think I might have actually literally gone on to the thesaurus. If you're a writer out there, don't be proud. Use the thesaurus. And I was like, Beastheart! And as soon as I said Beastheart, James was like, that's it. So that was my number 1 contribution to this project. My number 2 contribution was staying the fuck out of everybody's way. Were there any thoughts around having multiple pets simultaneously, James?
Because of the Beastmaster concept you were just talking about, right? The old movie Beastmaster, that's kind of what it's about, is you have all of these pets, but at no point did we really ever entertain that, because we have something that is going to be the multiple controlling of creatures coming up. So
for which you will
this was always kind of about you and your friend. Yeah.
Right, we have another class that we would like to develop, but regardless of whether we do that or not, that's going to depend on how popular this class is. There will be minion rules in the MCDM monster book. So if you want to control multiples of something, it could be demons or undead or squirrels. That's your minions. Adrian says, do Matt and James determine MCDM company direction together, or is it just Matt, or is it the whole team? We contemplate the orb, and the orb tells us what to do. No. I mean, it's my company, and so I basically set the direction, but I'm only going to push for something if I feel like the team is going to be excited by it, right? And not everybody on the team is equally excited about every idea I have. So it is generally my ideas that drive everything, but the first thing I do is I go to the team and say, what do you think about this? And if they're not excited, then we're not going to do it, right? I don't want to drag anybody kicking and streaming. That'd be a good name for a stream. I want it to be a collaborative thing. And so it's my job, I see it as my job to define the boundaries of whatever it is we're working on. And then within those boundaries, the team can go crazy. But there has to be buy-in, right? If I went to James and said, I have this idea for how to have a pet companion and its ferocity, and there's a push your luck mechanic, he right away was like, that's fucking cool. And if he had said, nah, I don't like that kind of resource management stuff, I don't think it's appropriate, I would have been like, okay, no problem. James, what is your experience there? I don't want to be the one doing all the talking.
Yeah, no, I think it's exactly what you said, right? You are the head of the company, and so you assume the responsibility and the privileges that go along with that, which includes like talking about stuff, but you never force your ideas on people, like, hey, we must do this. And I do think that a lot of, the direction comes from, you often lay out options. Here are a bunch of things I want to do. And I think this was the case, right? You laid out a bunch of different classes.
Yep.
And Anna was like, yep. Beastheart is the one we should do.
Yeah. I mean, Anna, we had a meeting here in the office. Me, Anna, Lars, I don't know who else might have been there. And it was a production meeting. And I'm a designer. I'm not a producer. So I felt like it was just my job to give Anna and Lars good data on what all these different projects are that we want to work on, right? Because we've got 2 adventures in the pike that are still in development that you folks haven't seen yet. We've got the Player's Guide to Capital. We have an upcoming monster book. And we have like 3 or 4 more custom classes that we want to do. And so it was mostly Anna, but also Lars, who was like, the Beastheart. Let's focus on the Beastheart next. And I think that was the right decision. I would have supported. We had a long discussion just last night about exactly what the price points should be, and Anna's role is COO at the company, and I said she has highly developed opinions about how the miniatures should be priced, but so does Jason, and so do I. And so at the end of the day, I said, Anna, I'm going to support whatever decision you make, even though I have my own ideas about this stuff. But we don't have enough data yet to make incredibly well informed decisions about price points. Right? We're gonna have to make a lot of different things and try experiments to find out. So that's one of the things that is awesome about this company is that we don't have to. We don't have a music label or a game publisher above us telling us that we have to have fucking loot boxes or anything like that. We can try different shit and see what works. Is there Axel Vane? This is a great question. Is there going to be Kingdom? Yep. Jerry?
Oh, I'm sorry. Just somebody asked what my favorite artwork was.
Oh, sorry, that was Jason.
There's a chance to call out Martin Sober. I hope I'm saying his last name correctly. But he did the cover for
us. That's what I said. Yep.
And a piece of key art, and I love the cover. And the cover's not just Martin's art; that's also Gordon McAlpin's take on the
layout,
title, and the layout, and the whole presentation there.
Yeah.
But that's
thank you, Gordon. Gordon McAlpin did a kick-ass job on the layout.
Yes, absolutely. And but my favorite piece of art is actually the other piece Martin did, the key art that's just before the Bond section with the kind of, the Beastheart running at you with all the ghostly forms of the companions around him. That was one that I kind of asked for specifically, and I had something in mind, and Martin just got it and delivered, and it was awesome. So.
James C. asked, has anybody tried painting the new minis? Good question.
Not yet. I planned on over the holidays.
Getting the minis painted. So. Yeah, getting the minis painted would have probably pushed off the release by a couple of weeks.
Yeah, but
do we have plans to get? Do we have plans to get? Are you going to paint yours, and are those going to be the ones we show off, or are we going to pay somebody to pro paint them?
We'll pay somebody better than me to paint them.
Get Phil to do it. Is Phil a better painter than you, Jason?
Yes, he's more patient. I think that's what it takes.
Fair enough. Yeah. What niche, this is from Isaiah Nording, this is a question for James, what niche do you anticipate the Beastheart filling in a standard party, like support, DPS?
Yeah, so it sort of depends on the beast you pick and the build you make, but they're almost very much like controllers, because your beast can be strikery or tanky or that kind of thing. So your subclass, sort of like the Illrigger, has a lot to say in what your role is. But all Beasthearts have access to what's called Primal Exploits, which are things that let you run faster, jump higher, tie up enemies, push them back, move them around, that kind of thing. So they're definitely like a controller aspect there that is pretty fun, and a lot of times in testing, the testers would say this is kind of like a spellcaster without spells. So that was cool. That was a good feeling.
Thank God,
that
spellcasters
we had nailed that.
Stupid complex in 5th edition, and also there are different, like as James was alluding to, there are different subclasses that will take you in a different direction. Like if you take the protector, then you're a tank. Right, or your pet is a tank, but then you can also take primal exploits, right? Like the one that gives you a bonus to your AC as a reaction to getting hit, that makes you more tanky. So it's all about how you customize your Beastheart. I mean, so far I think MCDM classes are extraordinarily customizable. Stay tuned, James. This is a question from Sam. What part of the Beastheart design are you most proud of, James?
Oh, that's a really, really good question. I think the thing that I'm most proud of is the fact that we managed to make a system where with the companions that can exist outside of the Beastheart, but then is also fun to use as a Beastheart, right? And that was the goal, and it was really hard. There were times where it was like, are we doing this right? I think we need to sacrifice something over here to make this work. But the end of it is, it's really fun to have a companion, whether you're a Beastheart or not. But if you're a Beastheart, you're making the most of it, and that's exactly what we wanted. And that was like up until the last iteration, it felt like we were tinkering with that.
I mean, there was at least one instance I can remember when the testers had found some problems that seemed irreconcilable, and you and I put our heads together and We were like, what if we just tried this? And I don't remember exactly what the mechanic was, but I remember saying, James, it should work like this. And then when I was done talking, I was like, that doesn't make sense. And you're like, no, it does. I can make that work. And that was really cool. But yeah, it's the fact that, I'll put an asterisk there. It's the fact that you can, any character, we produced a product where any character can run a companion. But if you want to be a companion specialist, you got a class there. But now, what is your advice, James, for what happens when everybody at the table wants to play a Beastheart or wants to have a companion? Are those two different problems?
Yeah. In some ways they are, right? So the Beastheart is built to run as fast as you can with a companion. So they don't like get an extra attack, right? Their own attack increases in potency so that you're still making one attack roll for you, one attack roll for your companion, that kind of thing. So multiple Beasthearts at the table is not as much of an issue as, hey, I'm a barbarian, you're a wizard, you're a cleric, and we each have a companion. That's going to exponentially increase the time it takes to do combat. So what we say for that scenario is you should really have one companion and just switch off who's controlling them. Like if you all want a companion, have a mascot for the party and say, okay, it's your turn, Steve. Yeah. That's how it is.
So let me just say what you just said and back to you, but in a different way, and you let me know if I'm wrong. Like the Beastheart is balanced to be a class that sits comfortably in a party and does not outcompete the others with more actions. That's why the Beastheart does not get extra attacks, but all these martial classes do, right? And so if you had just a regular everyday barbarian with an owlbear pet, that would be a little bit. That means you're like 1.5 PCs. Right, and that's fine if that owlbear is the only pet in the party. So if everybody wants to play a Beastheart, it should be fine because the action economy is balanced there. But if everybody wants to play barbarians and rogues and fighters, and they all want their own pet, then you're gonna have that's a sticky wicket. Although I would say if you were a dungeon master, add a pet, see what happens. And if you get to the point where you feel like, I know how to challenge a party with a pet, for which, by the way, there's advice in the PDF, then add another pet and see what happens. And see if you can't, slowly, who knows? If it doesn't work, you don't know my name. Does the monster book have a title yet? Yes. Villain. Well, I should say it's not locked in, but the working title is Villains and Enemies. Somebody upstream said, is there going to be Kingdoms and Warfare compatibility for the Beastheart? Like, are we going to see Beastheart martial traits and stuff like that? Are we going to see a Beastheart stronghold? We should. That sounds like an Arcadia article.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I honestly feel like it's a little bit of a missed mark and wish we had thought of it to put in this product. So future classes, maybe that's something you'll see. Yeah.
The thing is, like, it sounds like a cop-out, but testing, if you get the PDF and you just read it, you will see that the Beastheart was an enormous amount of work, right? It's almost 50 pages long. It's got an entirely new optional rule system and a class with 5 subclasses. And frankly, we were so excited about the possibilities of the Beastheart that I didn't think about making it backwards compatible with Strongholds, Followers, Kingdoms, and Warfare. But there's if you're an established writer who has a relationship with James and you want to write martial traits and a stronghold for the Beastheart for Arcadia, let him know. Tell him I sent you.
Please do.
Will there be a plan to combine all these custom classes into a single product? Well, I mean, we've got 2 custom classes right now. The Illrigger is sort of still in the middle of a 2.5 revision. It depends on all sorts of stuff. So no, I guess no. The answer is we do not currently have a plan to make a book that has all these optional classes in it. We're going to take it on a class by class basis, right? If the Beastheart is successful, then we'll at some point in 2022 we'll go into production on the next one. But we've got the monster book to worry about first. Will there be an open playtest for the talent? Asks Luke Edwards. If the talent becomes like a real thing, which I hope it does, because we already did a lot of work on it, then yeah. Did you have any? This is a good question for James. Do you have any companions that didn't make the cut?
Oh yeah. So immediately you'll see Villains and Enemies. There's the Lightbender, right, was something that I think we went back and forth about. Was like, should this be in this? Should we wait? And I think ultimately we decided we wanted a lot of lore to go with the Lightbender, and so that's why that's waiting for villains and enemies. There was almost an Ankylosaurus that almost got in. Jason, you probably remember that, right? The Ankylosaurus.
Yeah, we did
almost
a
made
bunch
mini
of
of that
fun
too.
concept. Well, we did some concept.
He was going to be the cleric originally, remember?
Yeah. It was like a cleric dinosaur. Yeah, so it was fun. These are still designs I'd love to make miniatures of too. So
Yeah, hopefully we get that.
The Dave says, will you folks be updating these classes when the next version of D&D comes out? Depends on two things: what the next version of D&D is like, and what MCDM is up to. Brooke asks probably the most important question anybody's going to ask. Why is there not a cat companion? Yeah, James and Jason, what the fuck? Where's my cat?
the Lightbender, we talked about it.
But there ain't no Lightbender in the Beastheart, bro. There's 15 fucking companions in here. You couldn't make a cat?
So we made two dogs. We have a warg and a hellhound, and that's because I'm a dog person, not a cat person. So
that's double dipping. I should have got in on that.
Thing too. Yeah.
It's my fault. That's my fault. I should have said there's going to be a fucking cat in here. I didn't do it.
Yeah.
I did not. I didn't. I should have. It's my fault. Blame me.
Sounds like
so the good news is if you have if you have a mimic companion, it can be literally any companion you want it to be. So
that's true.
You can just,
that's true. We did release a cat.
There you go.
It's just it's a mimic that becomes a cat. Correct. Well said. Good point.
Right.
Displacer Beast is not in the SRD. Do we have any numbers from the release of the Beastheart yet? How many Beasthearts have we sold, James? This is kind of data you're not going to get from another company. James might not know. If he doesn't know, then
no, actually, it's right in Discord. Lars just shared it, and it is 1,198 in the store. And I know that Fantasy Grounds and Roll20, I think we've sold another over 100 combined there. So yeah, about 1,300 so
that's
far.
Not bad for it's been about 3 hours since that video dropped. So that's the straight dope, everybody. Go ask Wizards of the Coast how many copies of whatever they sell they do. James asks, I'd like to hear more about the Earth Elemental art. It's a very intricate design. I saw somebody else, either in the Discord or on the subreddit, saying this Earth Elemental is my jam. So good job, art team.
Yeah, the artist, man, I'm gonna get him. I believe it was Tullio. Well, Tullio Brito and Mathis Grafe, under direction of Aaron over at Conceptopolis. I am terrible with names and I get real nervous about pronouncing them, so I apologize. But they're both great artists we've worked with before, and those guys nailed all the art in the Bond section and the companion section. And but the Earth Elemental design was actually inspired by concept work and even a sculpt that Grace did first. And so a lot of these companions, the internal art team did conceptual passes on, came up with the basic design and the art brief that we wanted these artists to kind of fulfill in the book, and the whole combination of the two got some really exceptional artwork.
What did because I mistakenly said you, Jason, modeled all the minis, but I don't think that's true. Who did what on the minis? Like, who did the concept and then who did the modeling?
Well, I think we listed them on the store, but Albert was
really?
on
Okay,
me,
cool, good.
concept and sculpt. Mott.
Why did you give the Owlbear those Iron Man repulsors on his palm?
It's not. Stop. How else is it going to fly? Come on.
That's a good point. Yeah, true fact.
Yeah. Grace did the concept for the Raptor, and I did the sculpt. I did the sculpt on Mott. Nick did the concept for Mott, and then Grace.
Nick did the concept.
The Hellhound and the Dragon Wormling were all Grace. So both the concepts and the sculpts.
Fuck yeah. Fucking the art team killed it. What happens? Here's a question for you, James. What happens when you're? This is a question I saw a lot of people had online, sort of outside the normal MCDM community. What happens when your pet dies?
Oh, great question. So your pet, when you're a Beastheart, your pet is like your spell book if you're a wizard, right? You use the ferocity your pet generates to do a lot of your stuff in combat, and so you can give up your vitality to revive them, and that is expressed as you gain a level of exhaustion by giving your pet your vitality. And it was funny because during testing what came up was like, well, maybe it's worth it for me to give up a level of my my vitality to sort of kill my pet and bring it back with full hit points rather than heal them. So you can also just bring your pet back to full by sacrificing some of your vitality, because that didn't really fit the fantasy, right? So that's how that works. And during testing, a lot of people like that. Some people thought it should be easier and you shouldn't have to do that, and some people thought it should be harder, like you shouldn't be able to be a Beastheart anymore. But we sort of went with that middle road. That's where a lot of the right, yeah, that's where a lot of 5th edition classes wind up. And actually, a shout out should go to Dig, one of the contract testers, because that idea actually came out of a conversation with him, because it wasn't harsh enough at first. And so we came up with this thought about like, oh, exhaustion, and that actually came from him. So thank you, Dig.
That's cool. I see Dead Llamas said, thank you for the $5. Said, how well would these new pets work with the Ranger Beastmaster? Well, my answer would be we don't need to play a Ranger Beastmaster anymore. You got something better now. But what does James think? James, what do you think?
Well, I think anybody can have a companion, right, from these rules. So your Beastmaster Ranger could have their pet, and then you could have a companion too, and you could run them that way. But they're not compatible with the Beastmaster. Like, you can't swap them out one for one, because right. Beastmaster companions don't generate ferocity, and ferocity is a big part of the way our companions work.
Yeah, I should say this again. We need some kind of. I should do a video about this. It'd be 5 minutes long, maybe less, but it would save the mods and I a lot of headache. As far as I know, D&D Beyond does not Wizards of the Coast contract with D&D Beyond, as far as I know, does not allow them to have official third-party products on there. You can always, there's some kind of custom content thing, homebrew. There's some kind of homebrew functionality that I know people have used to hack in an Illrigger onto D&D Beyond, but it's only first party and second party stuff. So other companies, I can think of one off the top of my head, you probably can too, that actually have a professional relationship with Wizards of the Coast. We don't. So our stuff, as far as I know, is never going to be on D&D Beyond. There's no point asking us about it, and there's no point asking D&D Beyond about it, because I don't think it's up to them. What if you multi-class Beastheart and Beastmaster? Maybe. I mean,
you have two pets.
That seems like it would be really suboptimal. Yeah. I agree. I think you would be doing two things. You would be failing to deliver on the fantasy of two different classes at that point. But it would be worth a try. If somebody wants to give it a shot and let us know how it works, that'd be awesome. James, can the Beastheart swap out its pets?
Yes. So when you level up, you can choose to swap out your pet if you want to. Again, that was one where it was like, this seems to be like sort of the happy medium, right? Some people were like, never, in no case should you ever be able to give up your pet. And some people were like, I want to change it every time I want my pet to change every day. I want to change it. And this was a good way to say like, okay, maybe you've taken a pet and you're like, I thought I wanted the weasel, but I really want that earth elemental. And so this way you can change your weasel out for an earth elemental, because we don't want to punish.
I changed my weasel at least twice a day.
Level 1. It's important. It's important for your hygiene. Yeah.
Was Jason in charge of putting that teddy bear on the back of...
Yeah. I was going to say, people keep asking about the teddy bear. Yes. I got the idea for the teddy bear mostly because of my dogs. I have two big dogs. They get toys pretty often, and they destroy them very rapidly, sometimes within seconds. But they each have like a favorite toy that seems to last. They don't obliterate it for some reason, and they seem to respect each other's favorite toys. So that's where I got the idea. It's a cute little teddy bear.
That's cool.
On this, so skulls and
yeah, I mean,
metal hooks, and teddy bear.
Dope. Is the Beastheart a Pokemon trainer? I don't know, because I don't know what a Pokemon trainer is.
I mean, I guess in some ways, right, if you're thinking about the fantasy of a Pokemon trainer, they have this beast that they control in combat. I think Pokemon trainer generally have a lot of, like, a menagerie that they can swap out and stuff like that. I am like a hair too old for Pokemon. But I believe, right, like that's the case, is you have a lot and you fight and then you can swap them in and out. This would be like if you had one Pokemon, which I think is a thing. That kid with the Pikachu, he just seems to have that Pikachu. So
Ash has all kinds of Pokemon, man.
Oh, he does? Does he have
Pikachu
the one with the
just doesn't
tongue?
live in a ball
The
for some
lick-a-tongue?
reason. Yeah.
Oh, wait. Oh, right. Yes, they all live in a ball, which there is a magic item inspired by the Pokeball in the thing, where you can keep your companion in a ball. So.
Pokemon, and Pokemon.
Abcrash Shadow asks. I just heard Jason say Pokemon. I think that's how you summon Pokemon, right? That was some kind of chant. Sorry. Do companions have? Can you go buy armor for your companion? How does that work?
Yes. So there's rules for barding in the player's handbook, actually, and so there's a sidebar about how to adjust those rules for barding for your companions, right? And that was the thing, right? The companions have in the miniatures armor and stuff, and we wanted you to be able to do that because that's cool.
Stuart Cook asks, would MCDM consider saying our classes do not support multiclassing so you can be free of all the balancing issues that come with multiclassing? That's not something we sort of did that with the Illrigger, right? We explicitly say that if you multiclass into Architect of Ruin, one of the 3 Illrigger subclasses, that you divide your total spellcasting level by 3 or something like that, because there was some kind of... Because of the way the Architect of Ruin spell progression works, it was possible to like multiclass into Bard and lose a spell level. But that's as far as I'm concerned, that's a super edge case. If we can make our class, our goal is to make classes that anybody who plays D&D can use, right? And that suit our standards of something that is actually fun to play and that delivers on a specific fantasy, right? So the fantasy of being a kind of a barbarian-y type character that has her own giant pet cat, for instance. That's the Beastheart. Or the idea of a character that just does everything with the power of their mind. That's the talent. Or the idea of a character who controls hordes of enemies, like a necromancer, right? That's the summoner. And so first, I guess it's up to James, really. Like, I would consider it, I would be a little bit disappointed if we made a class where we explicitly said you can't multiclass this. However, if we had an idea that was fucking cool enough, and the only way to realize it was by locking out multiclassing, I might consider it. James, what do you think?
I'm with you, right? Like, there's a lot of people and multiclassing was a big thing that when we got into the public playtest with this that we were trying to balance, and I definitely considered saying, like, is this possible? Are we allowed to just say this? But I think for the same reasons you mentioned, Matt, I don't want to do that, and I don't want to limit things that way unless there is something really, really cool and there's no other way to solve it.
Yep. We're a third-party developer, right? So we can, if we want to, we can make stuff that is a little bit non-standard. And like I said in the video, the Beastheart, there's no class in 5th edition that works like the Beastheart does. But there could be. I don't think there's anything about that design that is antithetical to 5th edition. James and Jason, if the Beastheart didn't associate him, and might MCDM make a whole set of character class sheets? Well, what we should do is we should make an Illrigger sheet. It kind of kills me that we haven't yet, but I've never made it a priority.
Yeah, Grace made that character sheet, and it's pretty badass. So
it is.
It's
and Lars fucking busted his
ass
ass last night trying to get the form fillable version working.
Yeah.
Sorry, what'd you say, Jason? I apologize.
Oh, no, nothing. I just I really like how that sheet turned out, and I said if we want them all to be that nice, that means Grace has a lot of work to do.
Yep. I can certainly see I mean, we don't have a full-time in-house graphic designer, and so that's kind of on the short list of new hires that we would love to do if 2022 goes well. Graphic designers on there. James, can you think off the top of your head? Do you already know of any companions that will be in the monster book, the upcoming monster book, for people to look forward to?
Yeah. Well, we already talked about the Lightbender, but I think also I would like to do a purple worm, like a little purple worm.
Purple worm, purple worm.
Yeah.
A crimson wormling,
something
a
like
mauve
that.
wormling.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Mauve wormling, Sturge. I'd love to do some kind of Sturge companion. I think could be really, really cool. So definitely there's a lot of things in there. And also there's going to be some original creatures in there that I think... I have a feeling that we're going to make original creatures, an author might make something, and I will say we need to make a companion of that, too. So that's my hope.
Yep. Any plans to put the Beastheart out in print? Nope. It's only 50 pages. It would not be... that's not enough to warrant even softcover. Thank God for PDFs. However, I mean, there's definitely a future where MCDM does its own player's handbook that has a bunch of new classes in it. But there are no real plans to do that. We just think it would be neat. We do have plans. Currently that's not on the schedule. Would it be a pet Sturge, or would it be a swarm of Sturges that a summoner summons? A raspberry boulet. Adam just said, if you're doing a purple worm, maybe also a raspberry boulet. I think you might be the first person ever to make that joke. That is top joke, Adam.
My
Gold
kind of
star.
joke.
It is a good score.
Good job.
It was a raspberry boulet, the kind you find at the bottom of a dungeon. Blah blah. Yeah. I'm sorry, James. Did you answer my question? I got distracted by that fucking top class Olympic level pun. Are we going to see? Would you do a pet Sturge, or would you do a swarm of Sturges for the summoner?
Yeah, I mean both are pretty awesome. So and Sturges
Fair
would make
enough.
great minions. So it might be that they're minion Sturges, right? That
Completely
you can
agree.
summon as the summoner and go on. Yeah, fun.
The thing is, I think a Sturge companion would probably die a lot, right? Because it's got to go and then stick there, and they're going to beat the shit out of it. Would we ever consider a full setting book? Absolutely. Yeah, I think I would say that if we get to make the monster book, that's not up to us, that's up to you folks and Kickstarter. If we get to make the monster book and it does well, then I think the next hardcover from MCDM would probably be a Timescape book, because a lot of the stuff that people want from us involve our unique cosmology, right? But that's, no plan survives contact with the enemy. Don't bet the farm on that. Excuse me. It's 2:50 a.m. and I'm dying from my third Moderna shot. So, are we still doing Player's Guide to Capital? Yes. The problem is right now, MCDM can basically do two things at once. So, and it depends on which direction you're looking at inside MCDM. Like, these people at MCDM are working on trying to get the Kickstarter shipped to you folks, right? And that's a lot of work. Meanwhile, James and I are working on, I'm making videos. James is making the Beastheart. We do Arcadia every month. So we already have a lot of irons in the fire, and there isn't any room with our current production capacity. There isn't any room to get the Player's Guide to Capital finished. We've got like 60 to 80,000 words already written. It's very cool. But, if MCDM grows, we grew a lot in the past year and a half. We added, like 3 new employees. So if the Monster Book Kickstarter does remarkably well, then you'll see more new hires and maybe a new producer, and that might allow us to get more shit done. Are we planning on doing more elemental companions? Blue Goblin 85. I mean, I don't know that we're planning on it, but it's a cool idea. Undead companions. I think undead companions would be for the summoner, right? Do we do internships? No. Will there be companions for the Beastheart in the Monster Book? 100%. That's literally the reason we made the Beastheart, was because we started by identifying the need, and I said, if we're going to do a monster manual, then I want pet versions. I want a pet griffin. I want to pet, Dragon Wormling, because that's a big fantasy for players going all the way back to 1974, and there are no official rules for it in the core rules. We're going to do it. And so that led us down the path to the Beastheart. So we've been working on the monster book for the last 9 months, but we haven't designed any monsters. That's not literally true, but that's the spirit of the thing. Instead, we've been working on these optional rules, minions, psionics, companions, that are all going to be part of the monster book. Any plans to do more Chain of Acheron streams? Actually, hey, that one guy, this device, which is a, hello, this is great. Now I can throw up and no one will see me. Hi. I've got a pen here. This device is a Surface Studio 1 that I bought with my money. This is not a Surface. This is not a new Surface Studio. There are somebody, an Hasenauer just pasted the actual key art for the owlbear. He's got teeth. Yeah, he's got teeth. 100%. Jason was right. Fuck, what did I just say? Oh yes, this is a Surface Studio 1, which I got used and refurbished off eBay. And the reason I got it was so that we could play the Chain of Acheron here in person, but using Fantasy Grounds to automate everything, because I can't go back to which one is the D8. I can't go back to, I got a 14. Okay, is that what you rolled, or is that your total? Oh, sorry, that's what I rolled. My total was a 19. Okay, well, a 14 misses, but a 19 hits. Oh, okay, I did 12 damage. Wait, to which goblin? To this one. Oh, okay, that's the brute goblin. He's got more armor class. So you missed that goblin. I thought you were attacking the same goblin you attacked. I can't do that anymore. I can't. I've spent too many, probably cumulative years at the table with that kind of fucking bullshit accounting. So for me, if we can make it so that we have all the fun of playing at the table, but we have the benefit of using Fantasy Grounds, then that's the best of both worlds for me. And the thing about the Surface Studio is it's got a gorgeous, brilliant screen. It's prettier. I think it's higher than 4K. I think it's 4.5K, and it will lay flat. So we can sit here with everybody having one of these, and we can all see each other. The screen's not in the way. So look forward to that. Any ideas for more wearable companions? I love the Mimic. Yes, we have a death scarf that Jason's in the process of modeling right now. Jason, James, is there anything you folks want to talk about before we sign off? Because we're getting close to an hour mark.
I didn't have anything in mind. I mean, I'm really proud of the Beastheart and how it turned out, visually design-wise, all together. The miniatures. It was a big team effort, and the art team had a lot of fun.
It really was.
So.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody said Axel Vienne or Axel Vienne said, "Are we going to see the Beastheart in action in the chain?" That's up to Tom. I'll send Tom a copy of the Beastheart and say, if you want to try this, then let me know. And I think he'll probably say, yeah, because I think, the impulse of the Beastheart is it is Copper and Big Cat. That was an early prototype, right? So I suspect Tom would probably say, yeah, this is actually way cooler than what I'm playing. If he doesn't, I'll be surprised. Stuart Cook says, Jason, where can I go look at your art?
Yeah, I'm terrible. I haven't added anything to a portfolio online since, I don't know, 7-8 years ago.
Yeah, typically artists like Jason don't bother updating their portfolio unless they're looking for work.
Yeah, so, I was thinking about updating it, so keep an eye out on my art station.
You should. I would if I were you.
No, in all seriousness, I should. I keep telling myself I'm going to promote the MCDM artwork more and the sculpts I do for miniatures and all those things. So at some point I'll find time.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about that. That sounds like something for a full-time social media manager to do. Sorry, go ahead.
That was it.
Okay. Is there any advice? I think Fletcher's asked this before. It's a good question. Or other people have. Is there any advice in the PDF for taking a normal monster and turning it into a companion?
Yes, so there's a sidebar about that, but it's guidance, right? Companions are built the same way a lot of other D&D creatures are built, which is like a little bit of math, a little bit of artistry, and a lot of playtesting. And so, but we include 15 companions, and I included a bullet-pointed list of like, here are the big major math guidelines to keep in mind as you're building them. And I think between that, you'll be able to sort of put it together yourself. But we don't have like a step-by-step process, just a sidebar in there with advice about how to do it and what the math would be.
I saw that, Tom Wishford. Thank you. David Nelson says, any plans for more Celestials in the future? Justin's work is inspired. If we do a Timescape book, then we'll probably see more Celestials, more Angels. Lo Rosario asks, do your pets level up with you? Go ahead, Jason.
I love Justin's work. We have some coming out in Arcadia.
Yep. You have the Arcadia that comes out next week, I think. You get as new angelic ancestries. And it's all Justin's work. It's super high fantasy. When you look at it, you're like, holy crap. It's very evocative. Beastmaster pets level up with you? Beastmaster pets, many of their stats have a bonus that says plus PB. And we talked about this in the video where PB is your character's proficiency bonus. So as you level up, your pet stats get better. Any plans to put Kingdoms of Warfare on Fantasy Grounds? It is, isn't it? Isn't Kingdoms of Warfare on Fantasy Grounds?
Working on it.
I don't remember. That's a Jason question. Somebody asked about the Illrigger 2. Not a Jason. That's a Jerry. Jerry, what's going on with other MCDM products in Fantasy Grounds?
They are submitted.
He's talking, but I can't. Oh.
And they should be released soon, but they're in review.
Dope. So Icy Dead Llamas, thank you for the second $5. Please bring the 4E Warlord into 5E. So I love the Warlord. I played a Warlord in my friend's 4th edition campaign, and it was super cool. But I'd be interested to know what James thinks about this. My attitude is, the Warlord worked for 4th edition because 4th edition was explicitly tactical in a way that 5E isn't. 5E doesn't have basic attacks. 5E doesn't have a shift. It doesn't assume a grid. It doesn't have all the stuff that made the Warlord work. And I wish it did. I liked the design of 5th edition quite a lot. I feel, as do many people, that they threw the baby out with the bathwater. But I think that right now, if you want to play a Warlord in 5th edition, you play a Battlemaster fighter. Isn't that the one that gets the martial maneuvers or whatever?
Yep. Yeah, I agree 100%, right? Like, it would be hard to fill with a whole class a Warlord, that design space. I'm sure we could, and I'm sure we could figure it out, but I think some of the other ideas we have for classes are going to be better for 5e.
Yeah. A Warlord granting a healing surge can't happen in 5th edition. Well, I'm sure we could kludge something together. It could be that statement is the one that gets, no. All right, folks. You guys asked a bunch of really good questions. Thank you, Kelmus. Kelmus, longtime supporter of the channel. Thank you, Lieutenant Frost. I got my copy in 3 minis. These are my Christmas gifts to me. I have a Christmas gift for myself waiting at home. I have the Cloud Terrarium is waiting for me to plug into the Time Rider. What would your elevator pitch? This is a good question. Amber Etsumi says, what would be your elevator pitch to new players to convince them to play Beastheart? James? Play a Beastheart if you want to.
I would say
that.
Yeah, if you want to have a hero who has a wild creature as their partner in adventuring, right? They're equals, or in many ways they are equals. And so you can fulfill that sort of fantasy, the how to train your dragon fantasy of hanging out with a dragon and going on adventures together.
There is one chunk of text that I wrote in the PDF. It's the one about how the pet, the companion, thinks of the Beastheart as being unequal, like we're a team. And it's tempting for the Beastheart to think the same way. But you got to remember that the Beastheart is a PC. It's a self-aware, intelligent humanoid. And this is a wild animal. So it was important to me that we had some language in there that said, like, it's the humanoid's responsibility to care for this thing, because I can model the future and be responsible, whereas my pet is living in the now. I don't know why I brought that up, but there you go.
It's good. I mean, that's a huge part of the class. So is like you are the caregiver for your pet, and so you're responsible for them. And the same way, like a very powerful toddler might think like we're a team. You're still the parent, right?
Yeah.
To be that.
Yeah, but you're still the parent has to be the one that thinks ahead, right? And imagines different scenarios and how they might play out badly. Stand by. Somebody asked a good question, and now I can't remember what it is. I guess I've lost it. Oh, it was a question I was going to ask James, and I can't remember what it is. But that's the problem, is that I got my Moderna booster, my third shot yesterday, and so I feel like death warmed over right now. So, fuck, it was a really good question. It was for James. It wasn't based on chat. James, I remembered. Thank God. You posted a thing on Twitter in which you said that there's a difference between a caregiver and a caretaker. Would you care to expound on that? Because I think that's super interesting.
Yeah, so that actually came out of I was playtesting the Beastheart with different groups of people, and the last playtest I had, there was a designer whose name is Nat Kreimet, and they were playing with us, and Nat, as their day job, works in like the healthcare field, and said, I see you're using caretaker here, but there's the preferred nomenclature in the healthcare field is caregiver, and the reason is because caretakers are often people who like take care of objects, they're groundskeepers, they're things like that, but also that caregiver has this connotation of like a loving, healthy relationship, and a caretaker is a more transactional relationship. And when we apply that, he said, what you're going for here is this idea of a caregiver, not really a caretaker. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And so we changed, when you have a pet, you're its caregiver now instead of caretaker. Yeah.
Yep. I remember when I was working at Last Unicorn Games, and I came into work at like 6 a.m. for some stupid reason, and there was a hummingbird that had gotten trapped in the office the night before, and it was in my cubicle, and it was exhausted and desperately trying to get away from me. And so I grabbed it, and I put it in a little box with some Kleenex, and I looked at it, and I tried to take it outside, and it wouldn't fly away. It was just stunned. It was dehydrated, probably. Hummingbirds have to eat an enormous amount of calories every hour in order to keep going, and obviously this one hadn't had anything to eat all night. And so I went to Target, I bought some hummingbird food, and by the time I got to work, people were rolling in. And so I mixed the juice, and I went out there, and I'm like, you're not going to die on my watch, little dude. And I remember our layout guy was like, Matt, I didn't know you were such a caregiver. And I was like, what do you think I am? You think I'm going to let a fucking hummingbird die on my watch? No way. Why no extra attack? Ben Reed, we talked about that earlier. It's to balance the action economy, right? So that you're basically, James will correct me if I'm wrong, your pet is your extra attack.
Yeah.
Is that it? Are we done? There was something else somebody said. Oh, question. So, Aqueous Conch says, how is the wording in the Beastheart? It's great. A problem with other homebrew subclasses is the incorrect labels used to referring to creatures as people. Does the Beastheart conform to WotC copy editing? Well, you should check it out and see. But I think I'm accurate. James will correct me if I'm wrong. That the people we use as copy editors to make sure all our language conforms with 5th edition norms are some of the same people that work for Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah, in fact, we're really lucky because the people we work with also contract with WotC, and so the person who worked on this is Scott Fitzgerald Gray, has been working with WotC since the 3rd edition days, and actually was an editor on the Monster Manual for WotC, and numerous other monster books for them since that. So it really doesn't get better than that. When it comes to copy editor. Scott's one of the best there is. And I also actually want to shout out Bashir Gauss, who came on just to do some sensitivity reading for us and worked with me and Scott during the edit phase, and really, just provided some insight for like, how can we best present this character who is wild at heart and that sort of thing, and making sure that we're doing it in the best way possible. So that was really great too.
A stream with Jerry, Anna, and Lars would rock. I obviously I agree, but I mean it's not everybody at MCDM is as enthusiastic about being in front of the camera as I am. But who knows? We'll see what we can do. I definitely think that, like Jerry, like years ago, Jerry wrote a script for like a behind the scenes video where he does a tour. And the only reason we haven't done it is because my reaction was, I think this would be better as like me with a camera just following you around and asking you questions, the kind of questions the audience would ask. So I would love to do something like that. I think that's it, folks. I gotta go because I'm dying. But also, we've been doing this for a little over an hour, and folks asked great questions. I think we've covered everything. If you just showed up and you had questions about the Beastheart or anything else that MCDM is working on, I encourage you to go back to the beginning of the stream because we did cover quite a lot of ground, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks to Jason, especially Jason, because Jason's kind of under the gun right now, working on art for the upcoming Kickstarter. But thanks to Jason and James for joining me here and being very patient with my hosting. Thank you very much to Jerry for making this all possible. He got my fucking Bluetooth headphones to work when I couldn't get them to work at home, and getting the Surface Pro set up. And who knows what we'll see in the future, because I got another one of these coming so that we can start doing solo sessions once the new year arrives. That's it, folks. I'll probably do another live stream on Twitch later this weekend after I'm not dead anymore.
Bye.